Good morning. Welcome to our weekly Saturday coffee chat. So we just finished having a chat. We like to do our catch up first. But we are today going to talk about seasonal affective disorder because last week we all agreed that we were, feeling some of the effects of that. So we wanted to look into it deeper and understand it and be proactive, going forward. So we're going to just go over that today. Deb and I have a presentation that we put together. And so let me just share my screen and present.
Hey, yeah, there you go.
Present. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start off and seasonal affective disorder. So it's interesting because because it's seasonal, it says we always think about it in the winter because that's when we really are affected by it, it seems, especially those of us living in the Northern hemisphere here. But there is the summer seasonal affective disorder, and it may affect us without us really even realizing it, because when it's sunshine and you can get out more, you may not realize that might be what it is. So we'll just kind of touch base a little bit on that, but I know we're all in the winter mode right now. And so that's going to be our main focus. But it's interesting because obviously winter and summer are opposite seasons. And so some of the symptoms are opposite also. And so in the winter, there's overeating, unexplained weight gain, sleeping more than usual, and depression. And then in the summer, we may have loss of appetite. There may be unexplained weight loss, or we may just not be eating as well, and insomnia, and then irritability, which I look at some of those and I know, and we're going to talk a little bit more about sleep further on, but, insomnia, I know I've heard a lot of people talk about, I'm just not sleeping well, and then it may be flip side as we go into winter. It's like, you may still not be sleeping well, and you may still be going to bed late and getting up early. But it's that whole, I feel tired and just compounding on that. So I've got there. Okay. So symptoms, did I skip one? Okay, symptoms. So like I said, most sad symptoms appear during late fall or early winter and go away on the sunnier days of spring, but sometimes some people have that opposite pattern and the symptoms affect them when we go into spring or into summer. And it may be just have some mild, some of that showing up. And so just be aware of it. I think awareness is the key to knowing when you can take different action. But the symptoms, like we talked about, just feeling depressed most of the day, losing interest in activities you have enjoyed, having low energy, having problems with sleeping, experiencing changes in the appetite or weight, feeling sluggish or agitated, having difficulty concentrating, feeling hopeless, worthless, or guilty. And then in severe cases, really having some frequent thoughts of death or suicide. And all this information, I just grabbed it from the Mayo Clinic. They're, I think, a pretty reliable source of facts. And then, so you have fall and winter symptoms. And we call the winter symptoms winter blues. And so again, looking at oversleeping. And then of course, like I mentioned, you may not be sleeping more. You may want to sleep more, but you're still in that pattern of going to bed late, having to get up early. And so there's that tug of war of that, which is just going to make you even more sad, feeling the symptoms more. And then because you're not getting great sufficient sleep or good quality sleep, those appetite changes are also going to be compounded with the cravings for foods and high carbohydrates. Because when we're tired, our body decreases its production of leptin, which is our satiation hormone, saying that we're full, we're satisfied, we've got enough fuel. And it increases the secretion of ghrelin, which is the hormone that triggers appetite. So, so when we're tired, our body feels like we need energy. And with that high production of the ghrelin, it's that double whammy of it wants energy, and energy to your body is food. But because we're tired, because we have all these other things going on, we don't reach for the best energy food, right? So this is where we kind of get ourselves into some trouble with that. And then obviously we experience some weight gain, and we then compound that tiredness with, and the low energy by grabbing foods that might be high in sugar or just living on caffeine, you know, that is this short burst of energy. And so your body is just in this flux all the time of wanting more sleep, of, you know, losing more interest in things, of wanting to eat more, and just and those things then just have those feelings of the worthlessness, or, you know, just getting into that kind of mode. And if we're not proactive and we're not aware of these things and try to counteract these things, and Deb's going to talk later on about, you know, what things you can do, then we just really get into this spiral mode. So did you have some things to share on this as far as sleeping, Deb?
Oh, me? No.
Yeah.
It's pretty self-explanatory on this, is because it's so symptomatic when you get in the fall, and daylight savings time seems to trigger that thought process. It just, you know, okay, now it's truly getting into that flip of daytime and your, what do you call it? Circadian rhythm. So
yes.
Yeah, circadian.
Okay. And then,
circadian, yeah.
Sorry, I can't see the slides completely and see you guys. So I need to.
Oh, I get that too.
Anyway.
There we go.
Can you, whatever, there we go. Okay, so we'll do it this way. Yep. All right, so causes, it's interesting because the specific causes of affective disorder remain unknown, which I thought was interesting. Because it seems like, you know, it would be just standard science of fluctuations in hormones and physiology and all this, you know, kind of stuff that they would, you know, but they do look at those things. But obviously one of those kind of the untangible things, like fibromyalgia, where they know it's a real thing, but it's hard to explain, and people can have it without, you know, having just from the symptoms. But there's not like a specific test that I'm aware of that you can do. But they know it's real. Same with seasonal affective disorder. But obviously causes being that circadian rhythm, like Deb mentioned, your biological clock, and the reduced level of sunlight in the fall and the winter definitely brings that on. The decrease in sunlight disrupts your body's internal clock and leads to feelings of depression. And I was talking with my sponsor, and I'm like, I'm not, because we talk about, you know, active alcoholism, or when you're not drinking, or active alcoholism is when you're drinking, right? And you're suffering those things. But I said, I'm not in active alcoholism, and I've been diagnosed as depressed before, but I'm not in active depression either. Like, I don't feel like I'm in that active, I wouldn't diagnose myself that way. But it's kind of those, if you've been there, you kind of can feel some of those effects coming on, or that same kind of, that trail. So, and it's really just because the body's adjusting, right? And the mind. And that's where the serotonin level come in. Your serotonin drops, and it's a brain chemical, a neurotransmitter that affects mood. It might play a role in SAD, and I think it definitely does. Reduced sunlight can cause a drop in serotonin. And gut health is so important. So I'm really glad that we went on a cleanse. We're planning a couple of more, especially through the holidays, because your serotonin is manufactured in the brain, but 90% of the serotonin supply is generated through the gut, right? Yeah. And so when your gut is out of whack and it's full of the bad bacteria that are overpopulating it because you're feeding it all the junk and all the sugar, then your gut is not healthy. And so then it just, the whole digestive system is off. And so that will affect that as well. So it's important just to eat good whole foods and stay clean, drink lots of water, get your exercise, which helps with the whole detox process as well. And then melatonin levels. So this is interesting. It's a change in one season can disrupt the melatonin of the body, which plays a role in the sleep patterns and the mood. And so, you can see that, but melatonin, it serves as a time cue to the biological clock and promotes sleep anticipation in the brain default mode network. So melatonin, it's a hormone and it's secreted by a gland and also lesser in your retina, but it's in response to darkness, and it's called the hormone of darkness, right? And it's cued by darkness. And so if you're having different daylight hours and darkness hours, then it really kind of starts to mess your body clock and your circadian rhythm up. And I love it. It's like the hormone that promotes sleep anticipation. So as we have the longer days, your body's generating more melatonin. It anticipates sleep. And so that's, as we get into the treatment, you know, why the light is good, to kind of take your brain default network out of we want to sleep. Where's the sleep? It's dark, we need to sleep. And melatonin production declines with age. So there's obviously supplements that you can take that are safe to take, not every single day because you don't want to rely on that, but really you should be practicing good sleep pattern habits. But you can also get melatonin in fruits and vegetables like tart cherries, asparagus, tomato, pomegranate, olives, grapes, broccoli, and cucumber, grains like rice, barley, and rolled oats, and nuts and seeds like walnuts, peanuts, sunflower seeds, flaxseed. So,
and turkey.
And turkey, yes. And then, did you know that seasonal affective disorder is diagnosed more often in women than in men? And it occurs more frequently in younger adults than in older adults. I thought that was interesting. And then factors that may increase your risk are family history. People that had SAD may be more likely to have blood relatives with SAD or another form of depression. Having major depression, like I mentioned before, and so symptoms may worsen seasonally if you have, you know, a depressive disorder. And then living far from the equator. So makes sense. SAD appears more among people who live far north or south of the equator. This is due to the decreased sunlight during the winter and longer days during the summer. So yeah, so again, the melatonin with the summer, and we're having, especially, you know, I don't know if it's the same with Karen in Canada, but I think we're along the same line, is daylight. Like we get dusky at night, and if it's cloudy, then it kind of gets dark. But a lot of the times, you know, there's a period of summertime where it's never truly dark, you know? So that affects the melatonin on the other end. It kind of swings the other way.
Right.
And you do this every year and your body's like, what the? And then not helping, right? We got all the things going on. We're in November and all the quarantine and the lockdown and the social distancing, which removes us, which just kind of exacerbates the symptoms of feelings of loneliness and, you know, disconnection, and all the work home health disruptions that we've had. And then all the election drama, you know, and negative news and social media, and having to, you know, shelter at home. We kind of get, it's called what is it called, you guys? The cabin fever.
Cabin fever.
Cabin fever. Yeah. And then canceling of plans, right? Like we missed a couple of vacations last year. It's normally our like reset opportunity to, you know, reset the mind and body and soul and connect with family. And now we're connecting way too much with family and but you know, and just having to cancel plans and put kind of feels like put life on hold. And then we have the whole just regular old symptoms of SAD that with the longer nights, shorter days, colder weather, and still all this other stuff going on. So we got to give ourselves some grace. All right. So I'll just let me know when you want to move on, Deb, and I'll scroll you up. So you see that?
Yeah. Let's see. Yep. So treatment. The least expensive, if at all possible, is just natural, direct sunlight. Being outdoors. And I am using a book called Sleep Smarter by Sean Stevenson. And he wrote a whole book about sleeping. And this part, he said, get at least 30 minutes or a half hour of direct sunlight outdoors. It's going to just benefit your circadian cycle, your sleep cycle. And what it does is that your brain, during the sleep part, your brain activates to produce hormones and neurotransmitters that regulate your bioclock, just like what Louise said. And can I share a picture?
Yep. Oops. I think, oh, here.
I have it on my desktop.
Deb, what was the the author's last name?
Stevenson, Steven. Yeah.
And he's got a new book out. I think it's called Eat Better too.
Yeah. He has a podcast too.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So here, if you can see it, can you see that?
Yeah.
Brain. So at night, this is where your hormones get rejuvenated. And right here, I cannot pronounce very well, but hypothalamus is the central part of your brain. And so this is where your sleep pattern, your sleep cycle, right here, your sleep cycle gets rejuvenated at night. And that's where you create, during your sleep, your hormones get created during the night. So the direct sunlight is getting absorbed through your skin or your eyes or whatever. And then it starts generating the hormone levels for your circadian rhythm. And then along here is your serotonin. And that's where your hormones get generated there. And then the dopamine production gets produced. And the melatonin, like Louise talked about, the hormones here. So at night, it's just like your muscles get restored at night. Your brain hormones get generated and restored at night. And I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
So back to the presentation. So when I was looking at that, they also were saying, okay, so for your sunlight exposure, your body is more responsive to light during the morning. So the melatonin sets you up to put you to sleep, but your body has created the self-bio clock that it wakes up when the sunlight comes up. And that's the prime time for you to absorb the sunlight. And they're saying between 6 and 8:30 a.m. is the a perfect time to absorb sunlight. So if you go outside for a walk, and I try to walk my dog and stuff. However, if you go on the next slide, This is where it gets to be more geeky, because the ultraviolet type of light, there's UVA and UVB, and UVA is the one that gives you sunburn intensity. It goes below your layer of your skin. The UVB light is the one that gets just to the surface of the skin, but this is the prime light. This is the ultraviolet sun rays that absorb through your skin. And that's the certain wavelength that triggers your body to produce vitamin D. Because remember our deep dive look on vitamins, we cannot have vitamin D. We try to do it in our diet, but we need to do it through the sunlight. Well, it goes the same for serotonin. And so this is where we develop serotonin, is through the absorption of sunlight. We get it through our diet, but primarily it's through the absorption of sunlight. So serotonin, remember, it's back of that brain, those glands, that particular hormone is transformed into melatonin. So you got to have one and the other. You got to have one to create the other, so that you have your sleep cycle to work. I have this video, and I don't know, I can't play it, but it talks about how to get your UVB type of sun rays, and we can play it halfway through. Oh, you got your earbuds in. Okay.
I'm going to help clear it up with this video. The key to understanding is really finding out the angle of the sun as it relates to your specific place on the planet and the time of the year. And there is a website that is put together by the United States Naval Observatory, and it's called the Sun Azimuth Table, and it will help you get this calculation, because if the angle of the sun is below 50 degrees, that atmosphere in the sun is going to filter out the ultraviolet B radiation, which is responsible for causing your body to make vitamin D from cholesterol. So it is, as I'm recording this video, it is March 18th. So we're going to type in today's day. You're going to use Form A for if you live in the United States. This makes it really easy. And the majority of our viewers are from the United States. So let's type in my hometown, which is Chicago, Illinois. And then that's all you have to do. Put the date, the state, and the city. And couldn't it be simpler than all you need to do is press or click compute table. Then you go down and you're going to look for 12 o'clock, because that's where the peak of the sun is. And you're going to have to, this actually table corrects for daylight savings time. So you don't have to worry about that if you use this. It does it automatically. But you're going to look at 12 and you're going to see 47.6. Now that is below 50. So that means that March 18th, even if it is 80 degrees and sunny, there is not enough ultraviolet B radiation to make vitamin D. Now, interestingly, if you live in Chicago, you would have known that actually this past week, it was over 80 degrees a number of days and very sunny. So many people went outside in an effort to increase their vitamin D levels. But lo and behold, even if they were in their tiniest bathing suit and stayed out in the sunshine from morning till noon, till sunset, they would not get any vitamin D. In fact, it may be even counterproductive, because the ultraviolet A penetrates more than the ultraviolet B because of the intensity of its wavelength. So as a result, you're going to get ultraviolet A exposure, which actually increases your risk for skin cancer and photoaging. So it's actually counterproductive to be out there, at least with the sun on your skin, because you really only want it to get vitamin D. You don't want the ultraviolet A radiation at all. So it's still good to be outside without sunglasses and be in the sunshine, but it's going to be it's going to be less than optimal to have the sun be on your skin at that time. So let's just go forward a little bit, like a little less than 2 weeks, go to the end of the month, March 30th, and then click compute table again, and we'll go all the way down to noon, and we see, yes, indeed, on March 30th, literally in 12 days, it's over 50. So in fact, we can see when the 50 starts. It starts at 11 o'clock, and it goes all the way to 1 o'clock, about 1 o'clock. So you can be out there from 1 or 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and you will get vitamin D, assuming that there is sunshine and there's no clouds or it's not raining, because cloudy weather will, of course, serve as another filter to remove the ultraviolet B radiation. So let's just do it.
So we can pause this if you want, Louise. So yeah, so go back to our presentation. Although he says cloud, it does provide a filter, but according to the author, Sean, I mean, he said cloudy days are just as better than nothing, you know, especially when you're really needing to get the vitamin D and serotonin. So with that said, that's the light therapy, right? Well, who's most affected of not having enough light? So look at that. I mean, I live in Arizona. It's kind of mild, but there's none. And it's interesting, when I got on, that specific website got shut down for now, but I found another one, and I don't get, although it's sunny here in Arizona, I do not get the more than 50 degrees. I don't have the UVB type of sun rays. I get the UVA. So at this time of the year, but it's interesting, when I found another website that I was noodling around with, but Alaska does during the summer. Of course, there's certain times during the summer, but I don't think we even get that much here either in the summer. So that was interesting. So with that said, you don't get the natural light as you would like. It's good to get any light. So on the next slide, it's phototherapy. So you got your sunlight therapy, and that's the most optimum. And if anything, just get outside. So if you look, there's like 3 types of phototherapy type of gizmos. And so if you touch on the visor hyperlink, I hope it works. If that gives it a twirl, but the underscored visor there, you have to be in present mode.
Oh.
If not, I can do it if you want. Here we go, present. There we go, visor. So this is an interesting gizmo, I call them. It gives you a little light, and if you page down, it just kind of shows it's a visor that you can wear like 20 minutes a day, but it's got 3 different levels of sunlight, one for morning, one for night, and or bright during the day and then night. And people use this for traveling. So it was just a thought. Going back to the presentation, there's this other thing called earbuds, and that is actually, it's interesting. It's a gizmo. When you do the earbuds, you put them in your ear and it emits light through your earbuds that gets to your brain. So remember that brain picture I showed you? That's where you're getting that generator. Well, that's the thought process behind the earbuds. And that was pretty of a costly thing, but a lot of people use it for traveling. And then the other hot link was for just the SAD light boxes, which is the most popular phototherapy, is the light boxes. So, and I had one when I was working in Anchorage, the light box, and that thing I had used every morning, and they recommend, 30 minutes in the morning is the optimum time. So like this lady's just relaxing in front of it for 30 to 60 minutes. So, and that's all I had.
Good, we're about to run out of time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to cut short.
Yeah. So just a reminder, we have our post-holiday 3-day refresh. So after Thanksgiving, and we're going to do it again after the new year. Shipping time is crazy long with some warehouse issues. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to